over.
Awesome. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead. Screen, could you give permission for that?
Yeah, I will do that right now. Okay. Should be good.
Amazing. Alrighty, let me just get my life together. Hold up. If things want to work for Izzy today. Okay, awesome. All right, I think we're good. Can someone or all of you just give me like a thumbs up on Zoom or with your actual thumb if you can see my screen? Awesome. All right. Yay. Okay, guys. Thanks so much for having me here today. My name is Izzy. You're gonna learn all about me. I'll tell you all the tea on my life and my experience in STEM. But yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for having me here today, and I'm really happy to be here. So, a little rundown on me. There I am. That picture is like really old at this point. That's literally from like 2020. But hey everyone, my name is Izzy. Most people call me Squiz, so you're all welcome to refer to me as that if you want. I use she, they pronouns, and I'm 20 years old. I am a graduate of LaGuardia Arts High School, if that sounds at all familiar. That's where Timothy Chalamet went, among others, so that's my flex. I'm a proud New Yorker, born and raised in Brooklyn, and I now go to school at Barnard College of Columbia University in New York. I'm actually right now studying abroad in Denmark, so I'm zooming at you all from Denmark. So it's about 8 p.m. here, which is cool. At Barnard, I actually created my own major. If you didn't know that was a thing that you can do in college, well, it's your lucky day. It is, in fact, not all colleges, but at my college, I was able to create my own major, which is called Computing Design and Pedagogy. Okay, use the Zoom feature if you have ever heard the word pedagogy. Like, give me the hand. Oh, actually, I'm gonna change that. If you have never heard the word pedagogy, give me the hand feature on Zoom. Yeah. Okay. Wait, so do we know what this word is? All right, most people have no idea what this word means when I say it, so I'm used to having to explain it, but if we don't know, so at least one hand raised. Pedagogy is the study of teaching. So computer science is super my whole thing now. It's my major is quite literally like how do we design the ideal computer science learning environment. But before computer science, I was an astrophysics girly. That was my whole brand. I'm going to talk about that in a few moments, but I was absolutely obsessed with astrophysics and really wanted to be an astrophysicist when I grew up. And in high school, I was able to conduct astrophysics research, which was super cool. At the end of the day, I am an advocate. That's a real core part of my character. For I like to believe all marginalized communities in STEM, especially women, gender nonconforming, trans people, like anyone who isn't really a cis man. Like I'm trying to advocate for you, bro. And if I really had to sum up everything in just one concise sentence, I would say that I'm passionate about reimagining computer science and STEM education through the design of inclusive, life affirming, and feminist STEAM focused learning spaces, tools, and communities. Yes, I know that is quite the handful, but there's a lot up here, and we got to try to make it concise somehow, you know? All right, your turn, y'all. I'm gonna talk for a really long time and it's gonna get really boring for me if I feel like I'm just talking to a computer. So I would love to at least know a little bit about you guys. So if you can go ahead and drop your name, age, pronouns if you're comfortable, and something that interests you about STEM in the chat. Ooh, that should not say intro to engineering. My bad, y'all. We always got to update the slides. Sometimes we forget. Human error. All right. And also, if I butcher any of your names, feel free to virtually slap me. I'm trying my best. All right. Athria, 18, she, hers, coding is fun. True. I agree, bro. I definitely agree.
Athera.
Athera, amazing. Thank you. Okay, we got Athera. Okay, you're Neha. That sounds familiar. You're 16. She her STEM is interesting because I love building my own products and things. Yes, obsessed. It's giving entrepreneur. Amazing. Let's get a few more before we continue. Okay, please correct me. Vibha? Maybe I'm right, maybe. Who's 12. Oh my God, dude, look at you, Miss STEM Queen. And you like coding and fashion. Sick. Looks like you're alive at the right time. I fear that digital fashion is like super in right now, so looks like you're in the right place. Okay, let me get one more intro and then I'll continue on. Come on, guys, don't be shy. I have like this purple pink background. You really think I'm scary? Like, don't worry. Fun fact, I have never used Photoshop other than making this background because very STEM, very swag is like my personal catchphrase. And I'm a big Canva person, but Canva just couldn't do it for the amount of swag and gradient I wanted. All right, one more. Sumaya, maybe. 17, and you want to go into engineering. Awesome. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for sharing with me. If you didn't share, hello, my friend. I see you. I see you all. And I'm super happy you're here too. All right, let's keep it moving. So, what am I here to do? I'm going to give y'all try to do a quick rundown of how I discovered my own interest in STEM. So, that is me. If you can't tell, I'm probably about 9 years old there. I was a pretty wild child, and I use that picture because I discovered my interest in STEM at a very young age. So I basically spent my entire childhood dreaming of becoming an astrophysicist when I grew up. And before I could even spell the word astrophysicist, I wanted to be one. So how'd this happen? So around the age of 8, I first became mesmerized by the projected cosmos at the Hayden Planetarium at the American Museum of Natural History in New York City, which if you ever find yourself in New York City and at that museum, please go to the planetarium. It is incredible. And I'm basically sitting there looking up at this projected cosmos and I'm like, oh my God, space is so cool. Like people can spend their whole lives studying space. Okay, cool, sign me up. So literally from that point on, I told everyone that I met that I wanted to be an astrophysicist, quite literally until I became one at age 17 when I came back to that museum as an intern, which is super cute, full circle moment. So as a senior in high school, I conducted research as an intern in the American Museum of Natural History's astrophysics department. And that was super sick. My team spent 10 months writing code to analyze images of brown dwarfs. If you've never heard of a brown dwarf before, it's kind of a little bit like a planet and a little bit like a star, kind of in this intermediate range. So by studying them, astronomers can learn more information about both. And it turns out that my team actually wound up discovering a brown dwarf 66 light years away. And not even that alone, but this was discovered through an error in our code. So next time you are upset about an error in your code, hey bro, maybe you'll wind up discovering an object in space. Just saying. All right, but like, what's the deal with that, right? Like, am I some genius or something? No, absolutely not. And I'm telling you right now, if someone from the future came up to 8-year-old me and said that not only would I conduct astrophysics research as a high schooler, but that I would discover an object in space, 17 years. Can I talk today, guys? I'm gonna try this again. Not only would I discover an object. Nope, it's not happening. One more time. Not only was I able to do astrophysics research as a high schooler, but that I would discover an object in space at 17 years old, I promise you, there's absolutely no way that I would have believed them. So how did I get here, right? How did we go from, being this curious kid to actually following through on that passion and interest to the point where I was able to do research as a high schooler? That is still pretty crazy. And so I always have to shout out my mom at this point when I give this little rundown, because I would not be here today if it was not for my mom. I was super, super lucky and privileged to grow up in a household where basically, as soon as I said as an 8-year-old that I wanted to be an astrophysicist, my mom was like, okay, then that's what you'll be. And I grew up just being so verbally encouraged and supported all the time that I could do anything I wanted to do, whether that be in STEM or, in the world beyond. So growing up, there was really never any question of, did I have what it took to become an astrophysicist? Because my mom wholeheartedly believed in my abilities and me, that really made me believe in them too. And thank goodness, because things got rough when Izzy entered middle school. I know we have a 12-year-old on here. I am so sorry, bro. Being 12 was like the worst time of my life. So kudos to you for even like being here. I definitely wouldn't have been on a Zoom call. I mean, Zoom was not a thing when I was 12 either. But anyway, that's a different story. So middle school. So what the heck happened in middle school? A lot of stuff happened. But the short version, not the long version. I'm really tired, guys. It's late. I've had a long day. Okay, it's the nighttime for me. The short version is that I had some really terrible experiences with my math and science teachers. I had done really well in math all throughout elementary school. I was kind of one of the best in my class in 6th grade, and then I don't know what happened in 7th grade. It was advanced math, and all of a sudden, Izzy could not hang, and I just the very first test of the year, most people in my class got in the 90s on it, and I got in the 60s. I failed a math test for the first time in my life. And from that point on, I was like, all right, so we're going to have to work really freaking hard if we want to do well in this class, because it's hard. And so I did. I got a math tutor. I advocated for myself. I worked super hard the whole year to get my grades up. By the end of the year, I was scoring 90s like other students in my class. But because there was this big learning curve for me at the beginning, and quite frankly, my teacher and I his learning method just did not work for me. My grades were my final average right before the report cards came out was an 86, and you needed an 85 in order to stick in the advanced math track. And, most people would say, well, you did it, right? You got an 86, you're good. No. Instead, my math teacher actually pulled me out of the classroom at the end of one day and said the words to me, I strongly encourage you to drop out of advanced math. And his claim behind this was that compared to other students in my class, my scores just weren't as high. And this broke my soul, because not only had I worked so hard, but he only cared about the grades, right? Like, he didn't care that I put the time into wanting to do well, not only so I could score well, but because I genuinely really liked math, because I genuinely wanted to one day, right? I'd already discovered this interest in STEM of being an astrophysicist. I wanted to apply this interest in math to what I wanted to do when I grew up, but he couldn't recognize it at all. And if you think that's bad, it gets worse. Literally, the very next day, our class was finding out if we got into advanced science for 8th grade. And I thought I had it in the bag, right? I had been doing really well all year. I was crying because I got a 90 on a quiz, like, that kind of situation. I was doing well, right? And I did remember though that we had the advanced science test, and I kind of felt like it didn't go so well. I was kind of sick that day. I also will later find out that I have severe test taking anxiety. But I was kind of iffy about it, but I still thought I had it in the bag. And remember, my class is super smart, right? They all got 90s in the very first math test. Well, they're all really good at science too. So it was a Friday, we're all lining up. It's the end of the day, the lights are dim, people are going home for the weekend. Everyone is lining up because my homeroom teacher had in her hands all of our letters that would say, congratulations, you got into advanced science. And I kid you not, it sounds like I'm making this up. This is truly what happened. I'm like basically the last person online. Every single person has gotten their letters, walking out like, oh yeah, I did that. And then I literally have my hands outstretched, ready for my letter. And my homeroom teacher says to me, sorry, Isabel, that's my real name, we don't seem to have a letter for you. And bro, I am like crushed. Like, not only am I taking the L with math, but now I'm taking the L with science too. And yet somehow I want to be an astrophysicist. Like, what is going on here? So this was a really dark time for 12-year-old Squiz. I was really like rethinking all my life plans, which you shouldn't even need life plans as a 12-year-old, but it's me. So of course I had them, but I was really down bad. I was wondering, how the heck do I think I could possibly become an astrophysicist if I can't even do well in 7th grade math and science? And I just want to know right now, I think especially in STEM classes, grades can just wind up mattering so much, or there can be a teacher that winds up influencing you so much. So I'd love to know if anything that I'm describing right now, if you relate in any way, you can just use the raise hand feature. I'm not going to call on you or anything, but have you ever felt a similar way to what I'm describing? Have you ever had a teacher just not believe in you, who ever thought you got something in the bag and then it just didn't go as planned, especially a math or science test? Any of the story I just shared resonate with y'all? Awesome. Okay. I'm seeing some reactions. Great. Just wanted to check in there. Amazing. All right. Well, I guess it's not amazing because it sucks that we've all had these experiences, but I think it's also really nice to know that experiences like this are pretty universal and are a pretty standard part of studying these topics that are notoriously hard. And there's a reason why they're hard, right? But there's also a difference between the material being hard and not being in the most supportive learning environment. But let's continue, right? So I'm all down bad. It's not go. I'm rethinking my whole life plan, right? But then something changed. And what changed is that I remembered my passion. And of course, this did not happen in this one moment of aha, everything is okay. But this gradual kind of remembering of why did I care about taking math and science classes in the first place? What was it really all about? And it was because I had this much bigger dream, much bigger than grades or numbers or anything like that, that I wanted to be an astrophysicist. And I remember telling my mom about this happening. She was really upset, especially about the way my math teacher had spoke to me about the fact that I didn't get into advanced science. We wound up fighting my middle school the entire summer to try to get me into that advanced science class. Anyway, but besides the point, I knew at the end of the day, and so did other people in my life, that it was a lot more for me than just wanting to do well. I had a passion. I had a bigger why. And that is what really was able to keep me going. And it kept me going all throughout high school. I continued to stick with the astrophysics thing. I continued to take the most advanced math and science classes because I had this bigger reason behind it. And it's crazy, before I move on to the next part, that if you guys remember from the beginning of my slides, that picture of me just dreaming of becoming an astrophysicist, that did bring me back to that museum almost 10 years later, despite all of these kind of obstacles in my way of the world being no, Izzy, you shouldn't do this. I still had that passion. And at the end of the day, your passion is so much more powerful than any grades or numbers or scores will ever be. So switching gears a little bit, we're in our astrophysics era, but I'm also low-key well, this internship thing is super cool, but I don't know, I don't feel the way that I feel like I should conducting this really cool research. It's so cool, but also it feels so far away. I feel like maybe I'm interested in other things, still have this STEM passion, but maybe it can look different than the astrophysics thing I was kind of anticipating would be the route that I continued to go in college. And what kind of sparked this was my experience in Code with Clossy. Has anyone here ever done Code with Clossy? You can raise your hand on Zoom if you have. Awesome. Okay, some Code with Clossy. Well then that's great because I get to tell you all about it. So Code with Clossy is awesome. I see someone applied. Amazing. Code with Clossy is a program that I respectfully changed my entire life. It is a coding nonprofit that creates learning experiences and opportunities for young women and gender expansive youth. Once again, basically, if just you're not a cis man, you are eligible to apply to this program. It's for 13 to 18-year-olds, and you learn how to code, but you learn many more things in this program. And what I really learned about was that there was this gender gap in the tech community. I didn't even know that that was a thing. And really, when I was in with Clossy and learning about all of the ways in which this community, like as in the tech community, does not actually serve the majority of the population, I became really passionate about wanting to continue down this path of computer science and understand what we can do and try to solve this and close this gender gap. How can we make the tech and STEM community a more inclusive place for everyone, but particularly those who have been historically marginalized because of their genders? And if you are hearing about Code Class for the first time, or you haven't applied for some reason, I really strongly encourage you to apply. They are 2-week summer programs completely for free, where you will learn how to code and all this other amazing stuff about tech. This is the QR code that if you have a phone, or you can take a screenshot, or you can also just look up codewithclossy.com/apply. I promise you, y'all, like, I don't know where it would be if I hadn't done this program. It changed my life in more ways than I can ever really explain. And I really encourage you all. The application will take you like 30 minutes and you have nothing to lose. So I'm going to show the QR code again and say the link again. But this was why I said I want to pursue computer science. I was never interested in that. In fact, in that astrophysics research internship, I was coding and I didn't even think it was that cool, because I was like, yeah, it's cool what I'm doing, I guess, but I didn't understand why computer science for me. I thought it was this is this thing that I'd only done I'd done it in school before, but I didn't really like my class. It just wasn't super good. I had been in the coding camp before, but I was the only girl and I was 15, almost 16. Everybody else was a 13-year-old boy. It was just like not my brand or vibe at all. And it wasn't until I did Code with Clossy that I actually vlogged my whole time in it, and I have the video where I say for the first time I want to pursue computer science. And I promise you, I never would have said those words if I hadn't done Code with Clossy. And choke it, please hold. Let's just say that since doing Code with Clossy, that those 2 weeks in the summer of 2020, I have continued to be super, super, super involved. This first picture over here is I was the face of the Code with Clossy 2021 application promo video. The second picture is when Carly Kloss, who is the founder of Code with Clossy and is a very, very famous supermodel. It's when I did an interview with her where we kind of grilled each other about all things beauty and tech, and it's now a video that's up on her Instagram. I've been a part of the Code with Clossy merchandise shoots. I've worked as a community ambassador for Code with Clossy. This is actually my second year being community ambassador, so I make memes and kind of spread the word about Code with Clossy. I'm really active in our alumni community, so this organization is so important to me, and I just want to be where I am, and my STEM story would not be complete if I didn't talk about them. So if you are at all, you are all interested in computer science. I already know that. So please, if you haven't already applied, please do it. I'm pretty sure all in the age range will not take you very long at all. It's just www.codewithclossy.com/apply, or if you have your phone, you can scan the QR code. I also will be posting a bunch about it on my Instagram. And when I finish up this talk, we'll have quite a while to answer any questions. So we can definitely chat more about it then. So as I said, right, I did Code with Clossy and I'm all like, yo, okay, so computer science. Yes, like that's the new brand, right? That's the new thing I want to do. But like with what? Like I knew that when I went into college, I didn't want to just major in computer science and call it a day. I kind of knew that I wanted to somehow apply this to another field. So I was taking all of these different classes. I was taking women's studies classes and anthropology classes and econ classes and psychology classes. And then my sophomore fall, I finally took an education class. And that was the first time I was like, okay, yeah, education is what it is. So I was gonna then go on to maybe be computer science major with a minor in education, but I was also meanwhile hating my computer science classes. I had dropped out of 2 of them. They just they were so different from co-ed class. He's so different from the learning environment that I had grown to love. And then I had this super long conversation with my boss, actually, of one of my jobs at Barnard, that resulted in me rethinking this, majoring in computer science, minoring in education, and actually creating my own major. So I had this super long conversation talking out this idea of somehow creating my own major, combining computer science and education. I wound up emailing my advisor. I wound up dropping out of that class that I was really hating. I wound up meeting with 12 different faculty members, kind of pitching my idea about what this major could be like, getting a lot of feedback, and eventually wound up writing a 13-page proposal for my own major that then once again got read over by far too many faculty members. And eventually, after 2.5 months, I submitted this proposal to this fancy Barnard committee that was basically in charge of my fate, and I got it. Normally, the committee does not approve special majors at all, really, but definitely not on the first round of submitting a proposal. But I don't really think they often get a 13-page proposal, so I really don't know what else they could have wanted from me. But this was the email that they sent me, where my major in computing and design and pedagogy, CDNP, was officially approved. So that was like a huge W for me. I kind of thought about this whole process of creating my own major, knowing that I eventually want to create my own computer science education company, if not, school altogether. And so I was kind of like, okay, if I can create my own major from scratch and get it approved, this means that I can create my own company. So it was kind of all a test with myself, and the fact that I was able to do it was really awesome and exciting for me. So that brings us to the end of the Izzy just talking portion. I wanted to save time so that I can answer any questions. Oh my god, as you can see, that picture is from the summer and my hair is now not that color. I have a lot more to say about all of these things, and I talk about all of my STEM stuff quite literally all the time on my social media, so please follow me on those platforms. You can DM me, say that you were from this talk. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, just tell me where you're, tell me that you're coming from here, and I'll accept your connection and connect with you back. But yeah, thank you so much for listening to me talk for 30 minutes. And I'm now going to talk some more, but hopefully a little bit more pointed at directly what you're all interested in hearing. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. I'd love if any of you guys want to come off camera. That would be incredible. But if you don't feel comfortable, totally good, but totally down to answer anything on here, and also anything else. So applying to Barnard, why did I choose Barnard? I mentioned I went to a performing arts high school. So, what is that? How did going to an art school influence my studying of STEM? More about creating my own major, how, what were the details of that process? More on my astrophysics research. How did I do that? What program? How did we get there? Confidence in STEM. How, after like so many different reasons to stop doing STEM, why did I keep going? More about computer science education. If you want my whole rant on how we normally do computer science education sucks, happy to give you that. What keeps me motivated in general, and anything else, I am an open book. So yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now. Awesome. I am seeing a question. Why did I choose Barnard? Well, originally, I did not plan on going to Barnard at all. It was like barely on my list. So if you are, if you're always seeing like videos on TikTok of like the person getting into their dream school, like that was not me. I just applied to Barnard because someone told me to. No one read over my applications like at all. And I had a lot of other schools I was interested in. I had a school that I had applied early decision to that I didn't get into. I had another school I was really rooting for regular decision. And a lot of people in my life thought that Barnard was a super good fit for me, but like I really did not see that like at all. I just didn't really have any interest in going to a historically women's college. I'm from New York, so I didn't really want to be in New York. But basically, by the time it was time to make a decision about where I wanted to go, this is now the start of COVID. So it's like April 2020. I was on Zoom actually with like 3 of my friends. I was basically like, okay, does Izzy accept Barnard's offer? Or does Izzy try to get off the wait list for this other school that she wanted to go to? And it was basically like we were supposed to be going through the pros and cons of both options, blah, blah, blah. And while we're doing this, and all of them, by the way, had really wanted me to go to Barnard. I wasn't there yet. And this was right at the time where I was what I call entering my change the world era. I was really becoming passionate about computer science education, or not computer science education, STEM education more broadly at the time. This is also a little under a year since my mom had passed away, which was a huge kind of shift. And like normally I talk about her in this talk, but today I didn't. But my mom spent her whole life as dedicated to, well, I mentioned how she was an incredible role model to me, but she was a women's rights lawyer at the ACLU for 18 years, and literally her whole life was dedicated to making the world a more equal place for women and girls and all marginalized people everywhere. So I think that when she passed away, I began to think a lot more about like what it means to grow up with someone like that, and definitely was kind of switching into more like a people oriented role that I wanted to have in my life, and I wanted to somehow be able to make an impact on the world like she did. So I was thinking a lot about STEM education, a lot of the ways in which it was a privilege to grow up with a role model like that, but how so many people, especially girls or people from low income communities that don't have access to learning these resources for STEM education, kind of all of that was brewing in my head. And so by the time I was looking to where I wanted to go to college, it was very different than where I had originally applied to. And so I was kind of just stalking Barnard's website. We're back on this Zoom call now. I don't even know what my friends are saying, but I'm looking through this whole website and I get to Barnard's mission statement, and I get to the last sentence of Barnard's mission statement, which read, "There's no better time to attend a school whose sole mission is to amplify a woman's power to change the world." And I read that, and it's been nearly 3 years, 4 years, 3 years. And I still have it memorized. I just had never resonated with a school in the way that I resonated with Barnard and what Barnard stood for. And I think that when it comes to your college applications, your interests change. I know that sounds maybe less believable coming from me since I've always had this STEM interest, but it's super changed from astrophysics to computer science to who knows what's next. And I think that when you're deciding on a college, it's important that you really believe in the school. And no school is perfect. Don't have any of these schools on a pedestal. They're all businesses. And I'm not going to go into a capitalist rant right now, but no school is perfect. But I think it's important that you're choosing a school beyond what specific thing you think you want to study right now, because that can definitely change. And I think that with Barnard, it was about the school and it was about what Barnard stood for as an institution. And that really resonated with me. And since going there, my interests have totally evolved. I was undeclared originally, not even astrophysics. And I mean, I've just been so wholly supported by so many people for my major. And I just don't think that would have happened for me anywhere else. So that's my why, Barnard. I do work in admissions, which I didn't mention. So I give a lot of tours at Barnard, and I am all up on our social media normally when I'm not abroad. So I answer the why Barnard question quite a bit. Okay, I'm just gonna answer this third question real quick. If I'm turning 13 this summer, can I still sign up for co-ed Classie? Yes, you definitely can, and please do. All that matters is that when you do co-ed Classie, you are between the ages of 13 and 18. I'm also gonna answer from Neha. Does Barnard offer anything where you can take Columbia classes too? You take a ton of Columbia classes. I take like half of my classes at Columbia, especially when I was going to be a computer science major. Barnard only has its own computer science department as of January 2019. So as a Barnard student, you're taking many classes at Columbia. You're going to Columbia libraries, Columbia dining halls. Like Barnard is a college within Columbia University. You graduate with a degree from both institutions, so it's very much the best of both worlds, in my opinion. I'm gonna jump back up to Melinda's question. What's your favorite thing about tech? Ooh, that's a hard question because I feel like, I have done so many of these talks, and I actually don't think anyone has ever asked me that question, so I don't have an answer prepared. Um, I don't know what my favorite thing about tech is. I think that it's hard to think about favorites too, because that implies like completely positive things. And I think I'm most interested in tech in a much more critical way of tech. I'm very interested in the future of AI right now. I don't know if you guys heard, but Chat GPT 4 just came out. And if y'all thought Chat GPT 3 was crazy, like this is even crazier stuff. And I'm really interested in just like what it means to grow up in a world that is already so powerful with our technology, but is just becoming more and more advanced to the point that like AI is now smart enough to get past the "Are you a robot?" button. The way that they do that now is an AI will this GPT-4 went and hired a human to press the button for it instead, which just like blows my mind. So I'm very intrigued by the future of technology, I would say, and I'm very interested in, I mean, it's clear from my major, in ensuring that every single person, no matter where you grow up, has access to be a part of the future of technology and has the ability to be in the rooms where this technology is being created. I think that one of the biggest issues with tech and many of the problems that we see, just like with innovation in general, is it's a really not diverse group of people in the room where these products are being made. And you see that there are real life consequences of the lack of diversity. I don't know if you guys know this, but when the like automobile industry first became a thing, they only had like tall white men in the engineering rooms where the design of cars was getting created, and there were so many car accidents where children and women were injured, if not killed, because airbags were only set up to protect the body of a white tall man. And just stuff like that. I mean, that's a pretty like extreme example. But other examples, if you guys know Joy Buolamwini and the research that she's done on facial recognition systems and how so much data comes from, or so many innovations come from these racist and sexist data sets. I mean, there is just so much need for every single person, regardless, no, not regardless, because of their identity, to be a part of deciding what the future of our technology is going to look like. So I think that there's a lot of potential that technology has. I'm really excited by the ways in which technology can bring people together. We obviously saw that so much with the pandemic, and so many, I mean, Zoom wouldn't be a thing. I mean, talks like this might not even be here if it wasn't for the pandemic, right? So I think that there's so many ways that technology can be so beneficial and life changing, but also so many ways that it can be so harmful. So I think that I'm interested in the ways that we can both critique it, but for the sake of humanity and for the sake of using it to make the world a better place. All right. I'm not seeing any more questions. Does anyone who hasn't asked a question yet want to ask anything? Or Neha, if you have another vision of what we can do with these 20 minutes, up to you. I'm just here.
I think we can end early. Does anybody else have any other questions before we end, or no? Okay. Well, thank you so much, Izzy. We really appreciated listening to your story and hearing everything you had to say about your journey in tech and why you do what you do. Is very inspirational. But yeah,
Awesome.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye.
Have a nice day, everyone. Bye.